Every rent versus buy argument sounds very confident. One side says buying is how you build wealth. The other says renting keeps you flexible. Let me tell you something. Both sides are wrong in the same way. They argue about what happens if they're right. Almost nobody asks the more important question: what happens if I'm wrong? And how trapped am I when that happens? That's what this video is about. In engineering, there is a basic rule. Don't optimize before you understand failure. Most rent versus buy advice does the opposite. It focuses on prices, returns, and timing, without asking what breaks when assumptions fail. This video is about that missing layer. In the last video, I explained rent versus buy as a reversibility problem, how hard it is to change direction once you commit. That lens explains why this decision feels heavier than most, why timing matters, and why some mistakes are much harder to undo. But it leaves something out. Even when nothing goes wrong, even when the plan works, commitment still has a cost. That's why this second video is important. And that's why I'm recommend you listen. It's the same topic, but it is a different lens. This one is about optionality. What choices stay alive and which ones quietly disappear once you commit. This decision didn't feel this complicated many years ago. Careers were more linear. People stayed in one place longer. Economic systems were more predictable. Today, we are making long-term commitments in a very different environment. An environment which is shaped by AI-driven job disruption, geopolitical uncertainties, fast economic cycles, and constant technological change. We're being asked to lock ourselves into long-term decisions while the environment keeps shifting. That tension you feel around rent versus buy isn't personal anxiety. It is a structural one. Here is how this debate usually sounds. One side always says buying is always better. You are throwing money away renting. Real estate always goes up. And that argument assumes stable career, stable location, stable timelines, and the ability to hold no matter what. It works only if those assumptions are true. When they aren't, the math doesn't save you. Timing and flexibility matter more than the spreadsheets. The other side says renting is smarter. Don't tie yourself down. Just invest the difference. That argument assumes perfect discipline, perfect execution, and ignores the value of forced structure. It also ignores reality. Many people don't invest the difference. And stability itself does have a value. So both sides argue outcomes as if outcomes are controllable. They rarely talk about what matters more, what options remain when reality doesn't cooperate. Optionality is not a buzzword. Optionality is the ability to change direction when new information shows up. More options means more ways to adapt, more paths forward, more room to recover. Fewer options means fewer exits, higher pressure, greater dependency on things going exactly as planned. Optionality matters most when the future is unclear. And right now, the future is very unclear. In engineering terms, optionality is slack in the system. Slack looks inefficient until conditions change. Then it's the difference between absorbing shock and cracking under load. That's why optionality feels unproductive on paper, but it is invaluable in real life. Think of life like a road network. City streets give you options. You can turn, you can reroute, and you can slow down. Highways remove the option. They're very fast and very efficient, but it is only the case if you already know where you're going. Buying a home puts you on the highway, and renting keeps you on the streets. The question isn't speed, it's how expensive it is to change course. People say buying creates stability, but buying doesn't remove uncertainty. And this is very important. It just locks you into one response to uncertainty. And you still face career changes, family changes, market changes. You just have fewer ways to respond if you decide to go the route of buying a home. And that is not good or bad. It is a trade. Opportunity cost isn't always just money. This is the path you quietly close. Buying a home may remove the option to move quickly, the option to take a risky career bet, the option to start something new without pressure. These costs don't show up on a spreadsheet, but what they do is they shape your future. Renting feels bad because it doesn't force progress. There's no equity statement. There's no visible accumulation, no sense of lock-in. But that's exactly why it preserves optionality. It keeps your capital flexible. It keeps your exits open. It lowers the pressure. And that is not laziness. That's positioning. Here is the key imbalance. If you rent longer than ideal, you mostly lose your upside. If you buy too early, you can lose your freedom. And those are not equal risks. Missing upside is a performance issue. Losing freedom is a failure mode. Engineers never treat those as equivalent. Optionality is most valuable when your career isn't settled, when your location might change, your life structure is still evolving. In those conditions, flexibility isn't a wasted potential. It is protection. Now, please don't get me wrong. Optionality isn't free. When uncertainty drops, too much flexibility can become a drag. So when your location is set, your income is predictable, and your direction is clear, then lock-in becomes efficient. Buying then isn't restrictive. It is very focused. That's when the highway makes sense. Now, here are some better questions to ask when you're faced with this dilemma. Instead of, is renting throwing money away? Ask yourself, what options am I paying to keep open? Instead of, will buying pay off? Ask, what flexibility am I giving up? And am I done needing it? Instead of, what's the smartest financial move? Ask, where does optionality still matters in my life? Optionality is valuable when uncertainty is high. Lock-in is valuable when uncertainty is low. Problems happen when people commit too early or they stay flexible for too long. In system design, the goal isn't to predict the future. It is to avoid decisions that collapse your options when the future surprises you. And that is what this lens gives you. Rent versus buy isn't a fight between smart and careless people. It is a trade between freedom now and efficiency later. Once you're able to see that, the guilt fades, the noise drops, and the decision becomes quieter and more honest. That understanding is the real return. So, thank you for your attention and your time today. If this gives you a new way to see the decision, then consider staying with the channel. Until next time, bye.